Coming up on this week's edition of AU Hoop Talk with Coach Brennan, presented by Launchbox Golf, we'll look at two of the Eagles' last 3 wins, the victories over the Greyhounds and Bison. Coach Jebbia, the women's basketball head coach, joins the conversation, and we'll get Mike's Super Bowl prediction. It all starts right now. Welcome to AU Hoop Talk with Coach Brennan, presented by Launchbox Golf. And, Coach, you guys riding a 3-game winning streak coming off the win over Loyola the other day. That's got to sound good, right?
No, guys are playing well. You know, they're getting better each day. It's been a challenge. 2 of those are on the road, so I'm happy with what we're doing. And
you look at Loyola, you guys had to battle back, had a double-digit deficit, and were able to overcome it and come away with a big win on the road.
Yeah. I mean, their defense, they mix it up. They play multiple defenses that kind of confuse you. So I was happy with the way our guys moved the ball. It wasn't easy, but they found themselves. We got pretty decent looks at the end of the day.
Good things never come easy, right? Mark Gasparini looked really good in the game against Loyola. Had a career-high 21 points. And he seems to be scoring more lately. Do you see from him maybe feeling more comfortable that angle of his game?
Yeah, no, that's definitely it. Just knowing when he should be trying to score and thinking about scoring. Because he's a very good passer. So we throw him the ball a lot. So for him to, sort of differentiate when the time to go is for himself and when to continue to move the offense is important. And he's definitely gotten, a lot better at it.
How tough is that for the bigs in your system to learn? As you say, the time to go, the time to hold back, the time to pass away.
Yeah, it's not easy just because we're asking them to do so many things that they haven't been asked probably, most of their lives. Mm-hmm. But they're certainly capable of doing it. I mean, Josh gets in there, and I trust his decision making more so than almost anybody on the court. He wound up taking the ball out for us against the press at the end of the game. So that shows you just what kind of sense and feel for the game he has.
When you look at Jacob Bunyacid, another freshman that's looking really good for you guys. He had 13 points the other night against the Greyhounds, but also played really well defensively in the rebounding department, had quick hands, had some steals and a block as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the biggest improvement for him has been defense. We know he can score. We know he knows what he's doing. And I know that if he gets minutes, he'll be good for us. It's just, him understanding how important the defensive end of the game is, and he certainly did that, against Loyola. So that's a great sign of progress for him.
Because he was a big scorer in high school, and so that angle of the game probably not something that you're really overly concerned about, right? So the defensive side of things is where you really are working with him?
Yeah, well, I mean, just any freshman, that's the biggest challenge is the defensive end. He has a good sense of the game. He can really, put the ball in the basket and, understands how to play offensively. And he understands defensively, too. It's just the intensity of every single possession, sort of understanding that. It takes a freshman always, a game, a season, whatever it may be. So, but we're going to need him.
Let's talk about the game against Bucknell. You guys were able to snap a 5-game losing streak against the Bison. Always tough to play Bucknell. Another tough game here at Bend Arena. Had a good crowd, back and forth a little bit, tight game, and it was a good game, at least from a fan's perspective, from a broadcast perspective. Right. And in the end, you guys came out on top.
Yeah, well, it's a good game from our end too, just because you had to compete and fight and scrap to win that game. And I was happy to see our guys able to do that because they're, obviously a very good team. Got a couple of the best players in the league that have been around, played a lot of minutes, played in, in big games. So, for us to sort of, be able to compete with them and come out with a win, I think is important for our guys' confidence.
Indeed, as the conference season continues to progress, that's got to be huge. We talked about the 3-game winning streak, but to come away with a win against Bucknell has got to be big for them here as we start to turn and come down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, it's a grind. You get beat down whether you're winning or losing in conference play. So just to get some wins and beat good teams. I mean, everyone in our league, to be honest. I mean, sure. It's the games are all close and all competitive. So you know, every win is a big win, every game's a tough game, but to come away with some wins just gives you sort of that extra, you know, juice or whatever you want to call it to, you know, to practice hard the next day and get ready for the next game.
And you talk about confidence. Stacey Beckton had a double-double against Bucknell. That's got to do wonders for his confidence. We've talked about on the show before about how his game continues to evolve. You continue to have more confidence in him, obviously, by putting him in the starting lineup, and he continues to play well. But a double-double against Bucknell, he's got to really use that for some extra oomph.
Yeah, no, he was real active on both ends of the court. And, you know, to be honest with him, it's just all about aggression and just sort of taking control, because he's capable of doing so many things. And he picks things up easily, he gets better quickly, you tell him to do something, and he's doing it. So we just got to keep sort of feeding him ideas as to what he should be thinking about and be doing on the court, because he's been very good for us, but there's still a lot more that he can do.
And it's time for our first time out here on AU Hoop Talk with Coach Brennan. Eagles with their 3-game winning streak, first time since 15-16. We'll be back with more after this.
Welcome to our sleepy little college town. You may have heard of us. Here we stand up for causes as naturally as we sit down for classes. We believe that knowledge, understanding, and discovery will make the world a better place, and that our contributions are only limited by our imaginations. Words, medals, and degrees don't make us who we are. Meaningful change does.
We are American.
And there's nothing we would rather be.
Welcome back to AU Hoop Talk with Coach Brennan, presented by Launchbox Golf. We're now joined by Eagles head women's basketball coach, Megan Jebbia. As we take a look at you guys streaking right now, 8 straight wins, that's pretty impressive, and it's got to sound good.
Yeah, it feels good. You know, just basically where we were in December, not winning a game, and then coming into January, you know, struggling a little bit against Bucknell with different lineup and things like that. But being able to put together 8 wins with a lot of youngsters out there is a feat in and of itself. So I'm really happy with where we're at, especially where we're seated in the conference. And we just have to keep it rolling now because we have some really good opponents coming up. So we'll see.
You mentioned that, and you mentioned how you guys are rolling. Chemistry-wise, it seems like at times you guys are playing really well. Then at times maybe there's a little hiccup. Now, granted, you had Katie Marini out for, I think it was 8 games. You had Caitlin Lewis out for 3 games. So both of them missed some time and together weren't playing a lot. So how has all that kind of played in with you guys?
It's been a struggle with the chemistry, I think. You know, in the beginning of the year, I thought we had chemistry with the starting group and we didn't have bench chemistry. Then this happens, and now the bench comes in, and we start to get chemistry, and then they get hurt, and then they come back, and now we're struggling again. So it's, you know, what I've noticed throughout the course of the game, it starts to get better, but we need to be able to take the ending of this past game and move it into the beginning of next game. So if we can try to do that, I think things will bode better for us. But, you know, it takes time, especially with Katie, who's been out for basically a month, just her getting her win back. Kaylu feeling confident again with her elbow injury is going to take time. But, you know, I think I talked to Cecily and Alina a little bit about it, and they're like, yeah, it's a little strange, but we'll get there. So I think they're confident in it. It's just who knows when it's all going to come together.
How do you say you hope to be able to kind of move the end of the game the other night to the beginning of the next game? How do you do that? Or is that just something you just hope that it happens?
Well, I think making it a note of it and bringing it up is the first step. Like telling them, like, why did you wait till the fourth quarter to kind of start clicking? What is it about the fourth quarter that makes you kind of step up? We were down most of the game. So that might be part of it, but not getting ourselves into a deficit, I think, is really important. I've noticed when this team starts out well, we usually carry it through the game. But when we start out a little slower, our defense isn't on point, we struggle, and we've shown that we've struggled in those types of games. So we'll work a little bit on it in practice. Just starting practices better, and maybe that will help carry into games. We'll see.
Marini with her 15 points against Holy Cross. What is that doing for her confidence, do you think?
I think it's a lot for her, a lot of confidence for her, because Katie is a scorer. She was our leading scorer in the non-conference, and just coming in back that last game and only scoring 7 points, she got to line, missed her free throws. It's like everything's just off, and she's a good free throw shooter. So I think it's good for her because she hit big buckets in the Holy Cross game. She got a couple and ones. She scored around the basket. She made a couple threes, and I think just making that first three against Lafayette was huge for her. Just saying, oh, I can score, right? This is a good thing. So I'm excited for her because she's somebody that can really add more points for us overall, and I'm excited to see how the others respond to Katie, because now that she's back, and if she's able to score, India can't take a back seat now, or Fish or Jade now when they come in. They can't take back seats to her. They also need to find their ways to score.
Cecily Carl had a big game against Holy Cross, had a double-double, first of the season, and her third 20-point game of the season. So what does she mean to this team overall? I mean, I know you probably talk ad nauseum about that, but she's so important.
I think she's our best player. I've been saying that since the summer. Yet teams are focusing on her, so it's been a little harder for her to score. So she's been able to rebound. She's been able to get assists. She's been able to take the pressure off from time to time throughout the course of a game. But I love the way Cecily's playing, and I think it starts on the defensive end for her. When she's able to play good defense and we get rolling on offense, people forget about her sometimes because we have people that can score around her. And then when you lose her, it's a bad thing for opponents. So I just love how she's playing. I think she's playing with a lot of confidence right now. Like I said, I think yesterday, she knows this is the last month of her career, so month and a half, whatever. So she has to step up, and I've challenged her in the locker room a little bit with, we're playing against some good bigs. Lafayette has a great big in Natalie Kakowski. Holy Cross has a preseason player of the year in Lauren Manis. Are you going to step up against these two? And she has.
Let's talk about, you mentioned Cecily's D. Overall as a team, your defense pretty outstanding right now. Let's see, in conference, first in scoring D, first in field goal D, 3-point defense at the top, defensive rebounding, turnover margin, all at the top. Defense has really been a focus for you guys, hasn't it?
It has, and it's funny that you say those things because I'm yelling at them constantly about better defense, right? So I don't think it's good enough. And so even though the stats prove me wrong, I've gone back and watched last year's team play defense, and we're not there yet. And if that's what it takes to win a championship, then we have a ways to go yet. And a lot of times it's nice with the returners back, with Katie and Kalu back, because they understand the defensive concepts. They know where to be. So it's a lot of it's the youngsters getting out there and just minor mistakes, but good teams make you pay when you mess up. And last night, Holy Cross, every time we messed up, they scored. So we have to get better. So it sounds great, but as a coach, you're never satisfied with it.
All right, Coach. Well, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Coach W right there. We'll be back with more on AU Hoop Talk with Coach Brennan right after this.
Welcome to our sleepy little college town. You may have heard of us. Here we stand up for causes as naturally as we sit down for classes. We believe that knowledge, understanding, and discovery will make the world a better place, and that our contributions are only limited by our imaginations. Words, medals, and degrees don't make us who we are. Meaningful change does.
We are American.
And there's nothing we would rather be.
Welcome back to AU Hoop Talk with Coach Brennan, presented by Launchbox Golf. Let's jump into the Eagles' next game. Home game on Saturday against Holy Cross. And, Coach, the Crusaders usually a pretty tough team, and Jahive Floyd is a big reason for that this year and has been for the last few years.
Yeah, no, he's one of the best players in the league. Sort of the offense runs through him, and he's such a good decision maker. He's passing the ball, getting guys open shots, and scoring at the rim with his athleticism. So he does a lot for them.
And he is shooting at almost 70% this year. That's a pretty impressive clip.
No, it's great. I mean, he takes the shots that he should take. I mean, they really spread you out, and they can hurt you in so many ways. Their scoring's really even, so it opens up a lot of opportunities for him. And he's smart about the shots that he takes.
And he's among the nation's leaders in block shots. How do you approach when you know a guy has that part to his game, such a focus point? How do you guys try to combat that?
We don't really focus on that, to be honest, too much. I mean, we know he's capable of doing it, and he can affect some shots. But at the end of the day, we just got to do the things that we think we should be doing, on our end offensively, which is getting the ball into Mark and seeing what he can do in the post against Floyd, but also sticking with our offense and getting everybody looks.
Now, Butler, for them, also pretty good player, was a Patriot League All-Rookie team member a year ago and is averaging over 13 points a game this season for them.
Yeah, tough kid. He's always locked in mentally. I mean, he's, just zeroed in and, going after rebounds and, getting up and down the court, getting back on D, talking, making sort of the gritty plays and then banging long shots. He can really put the ball in the basket.
Another guy I want to talk to you about is Caleb Green, their point guard, and he's among the conference leaders in assists, so he really knows how to run their offense and seems to have a really good eye for the court.
Yeah, I think him and Benson do a great job. I mean, they're so efficient. They're such good decision makers. They really get other guys involved, but they're also dangerous themselves as far as, scoring, making shots, making pull-ups, getting all the way to the basket. They're really going to test us in a lot of different ways.
You guys play Saturday. You don't play Sunday. It's Super Bowl Sunday, Super Bowl 53 in Atlanta. It's going to be New England's going up against the LA Rams. Who do you have? You're going to go with Tom Brady, who many refer to as the GOAT, or are you going to go with Jared Goff, Rams quarterback?
My real answer is the Super Bowl. What is that?
What is that? Right. You're going to be watching game film for the next game, right?
We'll watch it. But it's hard to root against Brady. I mean, the guy's so amazing and has done so much. You can't, personally, it's hard to, not want to see him do well. And
you think it's going to be a close game, or you think it's going to be a blowout?
I'm hoping for a close game.
Hoping for an interesting game with some good commercials.
I really don't care, to be honest with you.
With some good commercials as well. Right. Well, that'll do it for this edition of AU Hoop Talk with Coach Brennan. For Coach, I'm Dan. See ya.